much, Secretary General. I don't know if there is anybody who wants to take the floor. Sweden first, Azerbaijan. Don't forget that at 12:30 we have to end. I have to share some information. Please be very brief.
Thank you, Mr. President, and dear colleagues and dear Secretary General. I want to thank you for this comprehensive report and take the opportunity to address an important matter for making the political process with political documents more secure and as well as efficient. We have all once again worked extensively with the writing as well as giving support for supplementary items as well as amendments ahead of this year's annual session. The methods of our assembly are, mildly expressed, quite old-fashioned when it comes to the delegate support for the political proposals. Other organizations, such as the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, are fully digitalized in this field. I would like to propose to the Standing Committee that the Secretary General and the Working Group on Rules of Procedure initiate a modernization of the process with political documents so that we are up to date with other organizations. This will strengthen us and make us more efficient. I want to ask the Secretary General, as well as the chair, or in this case today, the representative of the Working Group of Rules of Procedure, if such system can be tabled for decision at the winter meeting next year. I would also like to hear comments on these proposals from other representatives of the Standing Committee. Dear all, let us build an organization that embraces current technology moving forward so that we can engage with politics instead of old-fashioned working methods. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll give the floor briefly to Azai, I think, and to Karina Odebrick.
Yes, dear President, I will be very brief. The reason that I asked for the floor is that, first of all, to support the report of Secretary General. Thank you very much, dear Roberto. I know that how Secretariat is working hard, and I remember the time when it was so difficult even to organize some events. I'm talking about back maybe at the early of 2005 or others. But today, of course, with the less money, with the less opportunities, you are doing more. So it should be appreciated. First of all, I want to say the second, about the transparency. I think you have done many things to provide the transparent and the accountable system of management. It is also needs to be appreciated. And the fact that today we are facing some challenges, of course, it is a fact, it is a reality, but you have to adapt to the new challenges you have already mentioned in your report. I think the Standing Committee and the other members have to support these efforts that your team and your person are going to implement. Thank you very much, dear Secretary General.
Karina has the floor, and then Germany, Finland, and Italy, and we close, because I have to give you some information.
Thank you so much. And I forgot in my previous speech, I would like to thank Farah Karimi and the Netherlands for hosting us here, because it's an excellent meeting, and thank you very much for that. I am, I think, a positive and constructive person. Maybe some of you don't think I am, but that's how I function. And I just want to comment on the budget and financial situation, because we've just voted on the budget with the three important preconditions. And what I hear now from the Secretary General when it comes to the long-term sustainability on financial and budget issues, I don't know if I misunderstood, but the solutions, in my opinion, cannot be to soften up our relations with Russia to make them pay. And I would like to be very clear on that, because I think that's important. I don't know if Groucho Marx said, if you don't like my principles, I have others. I don't have any other principles. That's my principle. We can't soften up the relations with Russia in this time. I think that's important. And finally, yes, I also would like to say to the Secretary General, thank you very much for your warm words about my work as Special Envoy for the Ukrainian deported children. I really appreciate that. My last question is, maybe I missed it, Secretary General, but I had a question about how do we move forward when it comes to election observation missions, so that we can learn from the previous ones and that we can be a better organization for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina. Tobias, Tobias has the...
Thank you, Mr. President. Now Farah Karimi is back in the room. I hope, Farah, you didn't miss the warm words from Karina, and I fully underline them. So I didn't want to repeat because I thought the Secretary General would answer. I had two questions, or I had three questions before. Now one is obsolete. The agreement with the Treasurer on not taking out money of the reserves this time was an agreement he said, and the other one, the action plan to restore the reserves. What is your understanding of this agreement, Secretary General? And the third one was zero nominal growth. If the budget would not have been adopted, this is obsolete now, but on 1 and 2 about the reserves, I would have had, or would like to have a clear answer.
So now, thank you, Tobias. Finland has the floor, and then we'll close with Italy, Secretary General, and then I will give you a bit of information.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to support very quickly Sweden's proposal and idea of using technology to make this organization more efficient and get things running even smoother. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I totally agree as well. Italy, Genius Zoffili.
Grazie. Grazie Presidente, Segretario Generale, colleghi. Io desidero esprimere con chiarezza la mia piena fiducia nel Segretariato internazionale e nel suo operato. Avrei voluto intervenire anche nelle discussioni precedenti, ma ho lasciato questo intervento per questo momento conclusivo. Nel corso degli ultimi anni l'Assemblea ha beneficiato di una gestione amministrativa e finanziaria, a nostro avviso, oculata ed efficiente. Questo, come è stato detto, è stato attestato non una ma 4 volte anche da Deloitte, e mi risulta che non siano stati segnalati problemi significativi di trasparenza, irregolarità di alcuna sorta. Esiste al contrario, colleghi, un segretariato che ha lavorato con serietà, dedizione e professionalità in circostanze sempre più difficili e con risorse sempre più limitati. E credo che rispetto alle questioni amministrative di cui, Presidente, abbiamo parlato veramente tanto anche nel corso del Bureau di Copenaghen, sia il momento di voltare pagina e di concentrarci su delle questioni che contano veramente e che credo che siano, e ne sono convinto, prioritarie. Dobbiamo fare ancor più politica, dobbiamo impegnarci tutti per promuovere ancora di più la nostra Assemblea parlamentare dell'OSCE a livello internazionale, un'assemblea che sta attraversando una fase storica delicata, la crisi del multilateralismo, l'instabilità geopolitica, le pressioni finanziarie crescenti. Serve, Presidente, capitale politico, serve che i grandi paesi contributori, con la loro autorevolezza e il loro peso politico, rilancino la credibilità, e serve che chi contribuisce meno si impegni a contribuire e ad aumentare l'impegno finanziario rispetto all'organizzazione, rispetto all'OSCE, anche attraverso l'organizzazione di eventi e di iniziative. Noi come Italia ci stiamo mettendo il massimo impegno, tutto il nostro cuore, anche la conferenza di Roma ne è la testimonianza. Serve, dove siamo stati anche accolti in udienza privata dal Santo Padre in Vaticano, serve un segretariato internazionale professionale, competente e all'altezza di una situazione così complessa. Segretariato, Presidente, che abbiamo ben rappresentato dal Segretario Generale Montella e da tutto lo staff e da tutto il team. E a queste caratteristiche, lo dico da Anna, passando da Anna, da Aria, da Marco, Anastasia, da Manu, e non sto a elencare tutti i componenti che con grande professionalità lavorano per il nostro segretariato. Serve infine, Presidente, il coraggio di evitare faide intestine inutili e controproducenti e di pensare invece all'interesse comune dell'organizzazione, quello dei nostri cittadini che guardano a questa Assemblea come un luogo in cui la diplomazia parlamentare può ancora fare la differenza. L'Italia ha fatto ed è pronta con il massimo impegno, con la sua delegazione, a fare questa parte. Vi ringrazio e mi scuso se mi sono dilungato, Presidente, ma ci tenevo veramente.
Grazie Eugenio per queste parole. Vi ringrazio anche a tutta la delegazione italiana per il vostro impegno e anche per il lavoro che abbiamo fatto per la visita al Santo Padre. Allora grazie mille per questo speech e do la parola per finire al segretario generale brevemente.
Thank you, Mr. President. Grazie mille, caro Eugenio, per le belle parole. And thank you very much to everyone who has intervened and has made comments. There are three specific questions. One on this electronic system. We have actually looked into that. We are still looking into it. It will be at some point presented to you as part of the action plan, but there is a substantial financial cost linked to it, and not only on una tantum, let's say, not only one investment, but also maintenance and transportation of equipment. So we have to look into that, but we will follow up on that request and kind of make a proposal, and then we have to assess, you know, like, do we want to make an investment or not? But I think we all agree. I mean, also this, we need to find a more professional system to do it. And there are systems which are integrated, which can produce minutes, can produce, I mean, there are some ideas, technologies, of course, vast on this domain. So it's just a question of costs, and we'll have to look into that. Some questions were about this, I don't know what to call it, agreement paper that me and the treasurer have signed in Stockholm as a precondition for the approval of the budget. I mean, I just wanted to be clear, you know, like, of course, I have signed onto a piece of paper which is nothing more than what is already contained in the rule. Our rule says you can only withdraw from the reserves with the approval of the president and the treasurer. So I've signed onto something that is already in the rule. I would have challenged anyone to not to sign that. So of course it says it's in the rule. There is the other thing is if there is the budget is not approved, then we will use the budget of last year, so zero nominal growth. This is one of the rules of procedure, so it's contained in our rule. So 2 out of these 3 things that I have signed up to are just a confirmation of the rules, obviously. I will sign up all the time to respect the rules of procedures. The third point was an action plan on how in the long term resolve the situation. As you said, Mr. President, in your report, this is more a political, I mean, you have to decide politically what you want to do with these questions. The Secretariat has exhausted what it can do administratively by cuts, by being very, we said 1 million was not received, we only spent 500,000, so we've really managed to finance 50% of this shortfall with our good management, and I think Gustavo's very austere, let's say, way of dispersing. Gustavo is the one who authorizes payments, so it's been very difficult sometimes to even get someone to visit you in Paris, Mr. President, from Gustavo. So we have exercised maximum restraint at the Secretariat, but this is, you know, like as much as we can from our side. But I think the action, I think a embryon of an action plan was contained in the first draft budget that we proposed. We've had 11 draft budgets proposed to the Treasurer. In the first draft budget, we had an idea of how to overcome this, but we have then decided, I mean, the political leadership decides what is the final budget, so the solution was a little bit less than what you had proposed. But I will definitely come up with a plan, as I don't know if by Andorra, anyway, it will be implemented from April, this plan, because it has to go in the next budget. So be it in Andorra or in Vienna, I will come up with a comprehensive plan on how to come out of this financial crisis. And the third point was about the Hungary mission. I think the Bureau has dealt with this situation, and sometimes I'm a little bit uneasy to discuss personnel matters in, on a webcast thing. And so I'll just say the minimal, because I mean the Bureau already heard this. But the Bureau met in April in Copenhagen and agreed that the staff in question was beyond reproach and that the organization should do everything possible to protect this person. For those who are new, I will also remind that the 2023 Bureau in Copenhagen and also an ad hoc session at the Vancouver July annual session led by Ben Cardin and Richard Hudson dealt with all these allegations. They were examined, dismissed on multiple occasions through proper institutional processes. So going forward, because the question was what would I do, as Secretary General, I will exercise sound and cautious judgment, and where there is genuine risk that a staff member's presence could be exploited or instrumentalized in a way that would harm the mission, harm the institution, or harm the individual, I will take that into account in the deployment decision. That is a common sense, as was discussed in Copenhagen, and it's part of my responsibility.